Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
Welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and as always, I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean, beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle. You can text the show. We got some viewer questions and stuff like that. After we talk about the main subject here, and that's so far who's coming to USC from the transfer portal. So that should be so that we're not reminiscing of what didn't work out. We're trying to talk about what will work out now, right? So right now, the long snapper with the best name in college football, Hank Pepper, transferred from Michigan State to USC. Long snapper. Not going to do a whole show on long snapper, although we do appreciate special teams on the program. So I know I'm sure the Pepper family is excited to come to Southern California. Nate Clifton. So here is a defensive lineman, very versatile player, can play inside, can play outside. Some of his best games in the SEC, because he transferred from Vanderbilt, were against Georgia, were against Bama, were against all those teams like that. So you do have you have a young man who's talented, who can add some versatility to that line, especially on third down with pass rush and things like that, long down and distant situations. He's also a great student off the field, a good leader as well for Vanderbilt. So you get a guy with SEC pedigree, a guy with SEC ability to get to the quarterback, a guy with SEC ability to stop the run. Like I said, he is a solid contributor. He's not a guy who you're willing to build your defense around. So if you're looking at like a guy who's going to be, going to build your entire defense around, he's not one of those guys. He's not Bear Alexander, but he really is a guy who is going to help add a lot of depth to the Trojans defensive line. 6'5", long arms, 280. We'll see what Danton Lynn can do with a piece like that. I mean, obviously, if he comes to USC in this moment here, he is also a guy who is who knows that he's going to play and knows he's going to be a contributor as well. I want to thank you for those who are listening and watching the show from San Diego, California, Hillsboro, Oregon, Los Angeles, California, Oakland, California. Love the Bay Area. Albuquerque, New Mexico, British Columbia, Apex, North Carolina, San Jose, California, San Francisco. We got Washington, D.C. We got Newark, not New Jersey, Newark, California. We got not Meriden, Connecticut, but Meriden, Idaho. We got Roseville, California, Fresno, California. And then we got Mira Loma, California, New York, of course, Los Gatos, California, Chester Springs, Pennsylvania, Charlotte, North Carolina. And then we also have one more city in here. Got so many cities in here. We really, really appreciate all the support for the Student Body Right USC podcast and the Put On Raiders podcast. San Antonio, California. And then we got Yukon, Oklahoma as well. I did want to shout out one brother on the podcast who left a comment about where he watches the show really quickly before I get into the guys besides Hank Pepper who came to USC through the transfer portal. Let me just see if I can find that one comment because I wanted to give him a shout out because he shouted out where he was from, so I want to give him some love for watching the show and supporting the show as well. So if I can find that for you real quick. But Achille Arnold and Easton Arnold are two big names as well. very big names. Those are the biggest names that came through through the transfer portal. So those guys are going to be big contributors to the team. Now their numbers, PFF wise, and everything like that, you do have to look at that situation and say to yourself, you know, they did have a lot of missed tackles. They did have a lot of they have a lot of missed tackles on their resume. So we'll have to see if that can be corrected. We'll see if that was like, that was depth, if that was anything else. But obviously, you don't want to bring guys in here who are going to miss a lot of tackles. It's a big part of, USC. They have to be able to overcome that and start becoming a better tackling team, especially with these teams in the Big 12. Sorry, Big 10, who are going to want to run the football down your throat and run the football down your throat consistently. So that's going to be a big thing. Let me see if I can find that comment really quickly. Shout out to Halfbreed 727-208. Oh, it says great show as always. Thanks for what you do. Bless you and your family. Fight on. I guess I gotta find the next show. I cannot find it. I can't find it. So I'll find the next show for him. But both of the Arnold brothers are guys who can flat out play. They are, they were all packed. They had some packed, all Pac-12 consideration. Good players, can really help this USC team. Great athletes, and along with great athletes, they're really good players as well. Very good players as well. The thing that was really cool about their recruiting was when they came to USC, they were hard-nosed, tough players coming from Oregon State, and they really didn't want. How can I put it? They didn't want to. They didn't want to hear like the whole, wine and dine stuff, like going on the yachts, doing all the other stuff. They were self. They're guys who were flat out wanting to talk ball. And I think they came because it was glitz, glamour of Los Angeles, but it's also, obviously it would come a homecoming for both of those guys because they went to Mission Viejo High School. But those guys, they want to talk ball. They're all about ball. And I think Danton Lynn sold them on being able to just talk ball. And that's a big part of, what this is. Like, you got to be, the style has always been there with SC. You're always going to have style everywhere, left and right. But the question is, do you have the substance to back it up? Do you have the substance to back it up? And I think with Danton Lynn, with Doug Belt, and with Matt Ince, you have substance there. You have three guys there who are going to be on people's radars to be future head coaches, whether in the collegiate level or maybe coordinators in the National Football League. Like, that's where they're trending towards. They all came together to try to either to kind of form a defensive alliance here for USC. I think it's going to be. I think it's a good. I don't know if it's the best defensive, room in America as far as what Lincoln Riley was saying, but I do think all those guys are going to help Danton Lynn kind of continue the success he had at UCLA, and now he's just trying to get bigger, trying to get faster, trying to get these guys ready for what's going to be a tough situation going from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. Jim Vivian 9245. He's been watching the show from the hillbilly land, Santa Cruz Mountains, California. Definitely want to. I think he's more on the Raiders side, but I definitely want to give him props because he put out where he's from as far as that goes. So we have Nate Clifton. So you get some size, you get some length, you get some pass rushing ability on the defensive line. You get a safety. You get a linebacker as well for USC as they get the Achille Arnold and Easton Arnold, who are going to help a lot on this team. And we still don't know who's bouncing yet. Like, as far as that goes, I'm still holding out hope I think USC is probably holding out hope as well. I'm still holding out hope that Kalen Bullock does not go pro, but if he wants to go pro, I can't hate on it. I can't hate on it, but we're still waiting to hear if he's going to go pro. It would be cool if he stayed. That would be a great, just a fantastic thing for SC if he stayed. You put him back there with Arnold, and if you get the kid you get the kid from from some UCLA who play with um head coach um play with head coach sorry we play with D'Anton Lynn, defensive coordinator for UCLA last year. That would help bolster it. You can do three safeties, you can do a lot of different things. This team really has a lot of, they have some versatility here. We'll see if they can um get both Arnold brothers, in the system quickly, as he did the Murphy twins out there and with UCLA. That would be a cool thing to see. But I do like so far high character, productive players with the Arnolds and with Clifton. You need some of those bigger names to come through now. And that would be something that I would like to see SC do. As we go through the transfer portal. I think they were hot and heavy last time, but I think now it's more along the lines of like I think they want to take their time and make sure they get the right guys in. And I think the right guys in. I think that's more of a focus for SC coming down the stretch here. As you talk about the transfer portal and who's coming to SC, and I think everybody's waiting for that big announcement to see if the quarterback comes as well. Get some questions here from Mike from the 718. Do you talk? How come you don't talk a lot about high school recruiting? I am not. I am. I could, but like most of these high school players. Okay, and I'll break that down for you. Most of the high school players who are possibly coming, who get signed and go to a major Division I school, even if they come from modern day, it's they're not ready to play right now. They're physically not ready to play right now, and a lot of them, um, and a lot of them, are guys who need to lift. They need to get better in the weight room. They have to get they got to understand the high school scheme opposed to a collegiate scheme, which is a lot of times mirrors a pro scheme of what you want to do defensively and offensively. But you don't want to bring. I mean, the worst thing you can do is bring somebody in, come in, and they get pushed around, all day and all night. That's the last thing in the world you want, right? So, to me, I'm not a guy who is like really big on the high school recruiting. I think that it adds depth to your team. Obviously, you need it because you can't just not have high school recruits. But any high school recruit, you get is probably not playing for a couple years. They're probably not going to be in the 2024 be on the field. They most likely will probably be on the field at 2025. I mean, Zachariah Branch was, those people like that are anomalies. They're not the they're not the real deal when it comes to that. That's not how it really happens all the time, if you will. Like, for the most part, the guys do have to sit and they end up they're behind sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and senior transfer. So that's why I kind of focus on the guys who are more of the proven thing. But thanks, Mike. Jen A60 from A60 wants to know about the Holiday Bowl and has this been the first event like this that I have covered. I used to cover when I lived in Connecticut. I covered a lot of tennis. And I covered pro tennis, and I covered the Pilot Pen. That's like the precursor for the U.S. Open. So been around that part of it. Worked at ESPN, stuff like that. So that's kind of my background. Not gonna be is I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna be like shell shocked by the moment. And I'm not gonna be afraid to ask a question to some of these guys, players and head coaches. So don't worry about that part of it as well. They're going to be shorthanded. I mean, USC is going to be shorthanded going into this game. And I think right now, Louisville is a 8-point favorite. So that's going to be something to think about as well, too, is that they're going to be that to look at. You have to really sit there and think about all those factors into the game. But you got to play it. I think the transfer portal should be open after the bowl game, hopefully convince some of these kids to play in these bowl games, because when their absence means it just takes a real toll on the game. The game is not as fun when you have all these guys transferring and sitting out. It's more fun when they're actually playing. So we'll see. We'll see about that. We have Jake from Sacramento wants to know, how does Will Howard fit? I think Will Howard fits. I think it's hard to see a quarterback who doesn't fit his system. I think a classic drop back passer might not fit Lincoln Riley's system, but I think he'll still probably find a way to make it work. We'll see if he is. We'll see if Will Howard it comes. I mean, like, everybody's crystal balling it, saying that if he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. I like to see when it's a big player. I want to see when the team puts out something. Right now it's 12:00 on Monday, 12:30 on Monday. Still nothing. I didn't see a fight on emoji all day yet, so we'll see if he actually ends up coming as well. Doug from India. Okay, Doug from India or Indiana. No, it's India. He said India. He wants to know about Doug Belt. I'm going to do a whole show on Doug Belt. So I think he is. More and more I did research on Doug Belt, I think he's worth me doing a show on him. So I'm going to give you a show on him and give you all the information you need. Biggest loss in the transfer portal for SC right now, I have to say Michael Tarquin, because I feel like offensive line. I think somebody tweeted out, maybe somebody tweeted out that he was a better athlete than a football player. I think that that's true. I think that's true. I think that's really true. I think it's really true that, sorry about that. I think it's really true that he is a better athlete than a football player, but it doesn't mean he won't be a good football player down the road. That could be coming. That could be coming for him. Especially if he gets better coaching. You got to understand that he is a guy who had probably one of the worst defensive coaches in America. No question about it. One of the best defensive, one of the worst defensive coaches in America, and Alex Grinch, one of the worst, coaching him. So that's that's it. That's all you need to know about that. He's so, like, hopefully he can get that football part of it. Takes bad angles, sometimes gets lost in coverage, things like that. I think he kind of wants to just play man. Where, like, to be real, like, you just can't just play man every single play. I know that's the Al Davis way back in the day, but you got to mix it up and play zone sometimes. And like, where does he fall in the zone defense? He has to make sure he's in the right spot at the right time as well. All right, Student Body Right, USC podcast. I want to thank all you guys for riding with us. I want to thank all the folks who are Raider fans to ride with the Put on Raiders podcast. And then for the folks who are new to our quarterback show called The Signal Caller, with myself and Solo Lopez, that show is something we're really excited about, and we want you to kind of go through that right now. The first episode, part 1, is on Bo Nix, and then next, the part 2 will be like in probably a week or so, and then we'll talk about Michael Penix as well. So for those who are draft folks, we get a chance to kind of get a first peek at those two players. So Student Body Right, USC podcast, every day, every moment, always fight on.
Straight pass play for Washington. Penix going far side. End zone, Odunze!